Okay, so starting off, the capital of Nepal, Kathmandu, was once a lake. Now, Nepalese mythology says that Manjushri flew to Kathmandu, and seeing the huge lake, he actually cut the Chobhama's crest in half with his sword, and it drained the waters in order to allow civilization to develop in the fertile valley. But outside of mythology, there is scientific evidence that supports this, but in a scientific way. Scientists say that there is ample geological evidence to show that Kathmandu Valley was once a lake, but in contrast to mythology, geologists think that the lake was drained over a period of time, not just all at once. Over a period of 15,000 years to be exact. Now see this, the flag of Nepal, like this is the only flag in the world of its kind, right? So it's the only flag that's not a rectangle or square. It's actually made up of just two triangles. Nepal is also the oldest country in South Asia. It was founded in 1768, and Nepal doesn't have any Independence Day or anything because it's never actually been conquered. The original founding date of Nepal was September 25th, 1768. But fast forward to 1923, Britain actually declared Nepal's independence. This is because the country was ruled by the Rana family, which supported the British Prime Minister. Very interesting that the British would do that. Now I want to look into the religion of Nepal. Hinduism is actually the most prominent religion in the land of Buddha. Although the Nepali village named Lumbini is the birthplace of Siddhartha Gautama and the Buddhist foundation. Today though, the beliefs and practices of Hinduism have a major impact in Nepal society. Up until the year 2006, Nepal was the only state in the world with Hinduism as the official religion. According to the World Fact Book, a survey done in 2011 showed 81.3% of Nepalese were Hindu, 9% were Buddhist, 4.4% were Muslim, 3% were Kiritis, 1.4% were Christian, and 0.1% were Sikhs. Also 0.1% were Jains, and 0.7% follow other religions or no religion at all. Another fact about Nepal is that it has a population of over 28.8 million people, and its population is equivalent to 0.37% of the total world population. Nepal ranks number 49 in the list of countries by population, and the total land area is 143,350 square kilometers, which works out to be 55,348 square miles. And finally, the population density of Nepal is 200 people per square kilometers. That is 517 people per square mile. Now this next fact involves their military. The Nepalese Armed Forces ranks 120th, and it consists of the Nepalese Army, the Nepalese Air Force, and the Nepalese Armed Police Force. Nepal isn't split up into typical Army, Air Force, and Navy divisions. Rather, their land service army makes up the majority of their military, and then the smaller Army Air Services supports the land forces. So that's how it kind of works there. Another interesting fact about Nepal is that the cinema is pretty new in the country, with the first Nepalese movie being released in the year 1964. The language of the films are Nepali, Maithili, as well as Bhojpuri. The terms Nollywood and Kollywood are also used for the film industry. Nollywood, of course, is Nepal and Hollywood mixed together. And then since Kathmandu is the home of Nepali cinema, that's where the K comes from, and then you combine that with Hollywood and then you get Kollywood. When it comes to Nepal's national debt, it is a total of $5.8 billion according to the latest numbers, and that makes the debt per citizen $199. Now Nepal is one of the few countries in the world that has enough room to borrow more money to finance development works as well as achieve higher economic growth rates. The problem, however, currently facing the country is not a shortage of financial resources. The country deals with other issues, which I'll probably save for another episode. Now only two more facts left. Like, we've all heard of Mount Everest, right? That's the highest mountain on Earth above sea level, and the mountain is located in the Himalayas. Mount Everest is located in Nepal as well as also located in China, and it has an elevation of 8,848 meters or 29,029 feet. With its impressive size, it's also prone to natural disasters, making it one of the hardest mountains to climb, although it has been done before. Back in April of 2014, there was an avalanche that ended the climbing season for that year. 1 year later, there was another earthquake, and that triggered a massive avalanche avalanche over the base camp. Now there were a lot of fears that this would push away climbers and tourists, and the government, they actually waived climbing fees and announced improved climbing management in hopes to reassure visitors and say, okay, well, you know, still climb Mount Everest, don't leave. But yeah, that's just one thing you gotta worry about when you go to Mount Everest. And that's probably one reason why I haven't visited Mount Everest yet. Now the final fact is, let's look at the Gurkhas. So these are the soldiers distinguishing themselves by being fierce fighters and serving in special units of the armed forces of the United Kingdom as well as India. But they originate from Nepal. Now after meeting twice with the British East Indian Company, unleashing the Anglo-Gurkha War from 1814 to 1816, and then the Gurkha Rebellion and defeating the Makwanpur in 1816, the British were really impressed with their skills. So they were recruited with the permission of the Prime Minister at that time, and they served as mercenaries that were organized in regiments within the army of the British East India Company. The Gurkhas are also known for their weapon, the kukri. It's this unique looking short sword, and this was used in the Anglo-Nepalese War as well as the First and Second World Wars. These guys are absolutely no joke when it comes to wars. You do not want to mess with the Gurkhas. Number 10. Well, you see, Nepal has the only living goddess in the world called Kumari. Now, Kumari literally means virgin in Nepali. Here was this woman named Preeti Shakya, and she's now in her 20s, but she was once a living goddess. Now, by the way, there are 12 Kumaris in Kathmandu Valley, and all of them are considered to be goddesses, but Preeti was the royal Kumari, and she was the most important one of all of them. When she was just 3 years old, that's when she began her reign as a goddess. She lived with the official Kumari caretakers for 8 years of her life, and that's when she returned back to her regular life. Preeti, she spent her entire childhood inside of the Kumari Gar. She was only let out for certain times out of the year, and that's when she was able to go out for different festivals. And the thing is, her feet weren't even allowed to touch the ground at that time. So that's one of the most interesting traditions in Nepal. But moving on now, Nepal has 8 peaks of 10 out of the highest mountains, and those are called the 8,000ers, which by the way refers to them having a land elevation of higher than 8,000 meters, which is about 26,247 feet high above sea level. Like I mentioned in part 1 though, Mount Everest is also located in Nepal, and it is 8,848 meters above sea level, and it's the Earth's highest mountain. But there are other mountains too in Nepal. There's the Kanchenjunga, which is 8,586 meters, Lhotse, which is 8,516 meters, Makalu is 8,481 meters, Choi Oyu is 8,201 meters, Dhaulasgiri I is 8,167 meters, then there is Manaslu, which is 8,156 meters, and finally we have the Annapurna I, which is 8,091 meters high. Now we know Nepal is known for its mountains, but what few people do know is Nepal is an extreme territory, both of course referring to the altitude as well as the depth. Because here's the thing, in Nepal there's the Kali Gandaki Canyon, which is 4,375 meters, and it's the second deepest canyon in the entire world. This canyon was formed by the Kali Gandaki River, and it's located across the Himalayas between the largest summits on the entire planet, and those are the Annapurna as well as the Dhaulasgiri. Moving on to some more wildlife, Nepal has its Chitwan National Park, and it's a reserve of some amazing wildlife and animals like the snow leopard. You can also find the Asian rhinoceros, the Bengal tiger, Ganges dolphin, king cobras, Indian python, red pandas, a whole lot there. Now they're faced with frequent poacher threats, so the park is implemented to preserve and relocate these animals so that they're protected because their homes oftentimes are destroyed. Like for example, the populations of the Asian one-horned rhinoceros, it's really really on a decline, and this is also one of the homes for the Bengal tiger, which of course is endangered as well. But let's switch things up a bit for this next fact. Let's talk about the calendars in Nepal. Unlike the Gregorian calendar, the Nepalese calendar, or the Bikram Sambat, includes both elements of the lunar calendars as well as the solar calendar. So each and every single year, the first date of the year is different depending, but it always starts in the first days of April according to the Gregorian calendar. And the Nepalese calendar each year has 354 days because each lunar month has 29 or 30 days according to the moon movement. So this calendar has a leap year every 3 years. And a leap year is when a day is added to a month. It's every 4 years with the Gregorian calendar. But although the Nepalese calendar is the official one and the most used in the entire country, it's not the only one used, since there's many different ethnic groups as well as different religions that occupy the country. So not everybody just uses this calendar. Alright, so we got 5 more facts to go. Let's just jump right back in. The Kathmandu Valley is really distinct because it's an area that is recognized worldwide by UNESCO, and it has 7 sets of monuments and buildings that really represent the history of Nepal, as well as it speaks to the artistic work found in the country. There are 4 places recognized as World Heritage Sites by UNESCO, all because of this territory here, the Kathmandu Valley. The territory is so small also that it's considered as the country with the greatest concentration of world heritage. There's a whole lot of Nepal culture, history, art, all packed and condensed in one area. Definitely one of the places that I gotta add to my bucket list. Let's hope that this coronavirus lockdown ends really soon. I'm trying to get back to traveling again, guys. Next up, I want to talk about a traditional dish from Nepal. It consists of lentils, known as dal, and rice, known as bhat. So preparing dal bhat is very much associated with the country of Nepal. And the dal is prepared with tomatoes, onions, chili, and ginger, and you can throw some herbs in it, as well as some other spices like coriander and turmeric. Now usually this dish is eating during the morning times and then again at dinner because it's a really nutritious meal and it doesn't cost that much either. Delicious. And in Nepal, when it comes to biodiversity, Nepal is one of the richest countries in the entire world. It's rightfully called the Amazon of Asia because it's home to different type of species of plants. Because I know we talked about the animals already, but let's get back a little bit into this, the plants, animals, and all that. Nepal has more than 900 species of birds, which accounts for 8.9% of the total species of birds all around the world. And it has 4.2% of the world's butterfly species and 3.96% of the world's mammal species. All in Nepal. What is up with this country? I swear it's packed with everything. A lot of life happening in here. That's a good thing, by the way. Very diverse country, not just with culture and religion. But when it comes to the structure of the country of Nepal, Nepal is actually considered a secular state under the Constitution of Nepal in 2015. From there, the Constitution provides for freedoms to practice any religion. Now, the Constitution also specifically denies the right for someone to try to convert another person. Nepal was also the last Hindu country in the entire world when it was declared as a secular state. But despite it being a secular state, Nepal has the largest percentage of Hindu population in the entire world, followed by India and Mauritius. But in terms of total number of Hindus, India by far beats Nepal. But just the percentage in Nepal, when you compare it to the total population, is higher than in India. And finally, as the national animal of the country, slaughtering cows is completely illegal in Nepal, but you can still buy beef at various different restaurants. Cattle and buffalo are the primary animals that are used for milk production in Nepal, as well as about 3/4 of all the households in Nepal keep cattle to provide for their own household. It's also not uncommon to see different buffalo and cows on the streets in Nepal because the animal is considered sacred.